So I had an intriguing conversation the other day, and this line came up, and it was so impactful and powerful, and I've just kind of been stewing on it. So I wanted to bring it in here. But a lot of the times, especially early in recovery, when a person is at treatment or even home, the first 30, 60, 90 days, there's so many new feelings, raw feelings, because we're no longer sedating. We're learning how to live life on life's terms. And so a lot of the work that we do here in the center is to actually question the current stories and narratives that a person says that we need to sedate from, and to learn how to become truly free, and to begin to create a life that we actually look forward to and that we love and that we enjoy. And we do that over the five foundational freedoms. And there's different videos for that. I don't want to go into that right now, but this one line stuck out so much because I know in my darkest times, when I was suicidal, when I was ashamed to let anybody know what was really going on up here, I thought I was so broken, I was so alone. I wish I had someone to step in that knew what I was going through, that was just there for me, to be with me. And at the time, ironically, I wanted to be saved. I'm so glad I wasn't saved, though, because I wouldn't be doing this right now. I wouldn't have evolved to who I've become, and I wouldn't continue this process. That's a never-ending process. It's actually very, very exciting. But this one line hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, it cut to the quick. I could feel it penetrate my soul. And the question was this: is what would happen if you became the person that you wish you had beside you in your darkest times? That question is just, it is so relevant to everything that has been happening and going over. But I thought, okay, let me think back to decades ago when I was in that place, in the pit of pain. And what would have happened if there was a version of me that actually came in and just sat beside me, that had the strength, the understanding, the knowledge, but also the compassion and the forgiveness and everything that I was desiring, the respect, the love. And what's interesting is at the time, I didn't have the resources because I hadn't been trained and educated, and basically kind of giving you the things that have worked. And so we started doing this with clients, and now, I mean, as a company, we're coming up on our 25th year, which is so cool. I mean, quarter of a century. That by itself blows my mind. But getting back to the point of who would I have to become, where I become the person that I wish I had beside me in the darkest hours of my life. And there's something interesting because in order to walk in the dark, you must know darkness. In order to walk in the dark, you must know how to create light. And that's the interesting thing, is when we're not in sync, when we're not in touch with our five senses, when we're out of our mind and suffering in addiction, there's no hope of us becoming that person. So of understanding the magnitude of this question, I mean, even asking myself and seeing how much more work I still have to do. Or let me rephrase it: how much work I still get to do. Like, this is what excites me now, is knowing that I can continue in this process of going to the pit in the darkest parts of my life. I can actually create some of it. And this is the crazy part. Before I was a victim, right? That was my story. I'm a victim and I'm in the pit. I'm in this darkness and I just wish someone was there. And by going through this process, I learned how to create my own light. I learned how to actually love that dark side instead of wanting to shun it and push it away, to actually honor it and appreciate it and love it and respect it and say, I actually need you in my life. I didn't know how to handle you. I didn't know how to be there for you and to actually listen and to be there and feel. See, this is the decision so many people have in recovery, is learning how to feel and not attaching positive or negative, not judging or evaluating what it is that we're feeling. Of actually being able to sit in a feeling when it's uncomfortable and to be able to observe. Okay, here's what I'm feeling. It's really uncomfortable. Where am I feeling it? Gosh, I'm feeling it in my stomach. All right, what is generating this feeling? I'm having some thoughts. These thoughts are generating this feeling. So if I were to open up my body and to say, what is creating this darkness? Like where is the label that says darkness? There's no label, right? It's all up here. And as I understand this and I start to look, I'm able to pull apart and say, these are a series of words that when I say evoke this type of emotion. See, as we start to learn this, we can become an observer of thoughts, no longer believe it. We can actually start to ask questions. And this is how we become that version of us that is not only worthy, but very, very necessary to be able to go back into the dark and to meet ourselves, to say, there's another way. I am here to guide you, to lead you, to sit in the pit with you and just experience what's going on. Not right, not wrong, not trying to rush through, not trying to sit and sulk, but to actually identify what are the thoughts and the narrative that are creating these emotions. Because here's the craziest thing, we trap ourselves. We create the stories in our minds through a series of words that we attach meaning to that evoke these emotions. The beautiful thing is once I learn the series of words that I'm attaching this meaning to evoke this emotion, now I can begin to say, I, I don't want to think these words. I would much rather think something else. Or here's something very easy. What about the opposite? So I know for me, one of my primary driving questions for most of my life that created so much pain and suffering is, why are you such a failure? The narrative that would run in my mind is I would ask the question, why are you such a screw up? Why are you such a failure? Why are you such a terrible son? Why are you such a terrible husband and father and friend? And then here's the funny thing that the brain does. When the brain is asked a question, it has to answer. So it goes back to every memory from my earliest childhood memory, and it says, oh, not only do I remember when you weren't a good friend or when you weren't a good son or when you weren't worthy or whatever's coming up. And here's the crazy thing, the brain does three things in order to survive. It deletes, it distorts, and it generalizes. So the narrative is, what a bad friend, I'm a bad person. And then when you magnify this year after year, decade after decade, as we get older, it creates this pain because I'm living in the past. So by becoming this version that will sit with me in the darkest times, we start to change the narrative. We start to attach different meanings because sure, there's one story that says I was a terrible friend. And then there's another story that says, but I've also been a wonderful friend. And both are true. It's where our focus goes. Every single truth in life, there's always an opposite. If you failed, guess what? There's a place where you succeeded. If you went high, guess what? There's a place where you went low. We have contrast in the world. Just like darkness, there's light. The reason why I wanted to share this is because that one question puts us on a path of continual progression, not perfection, but progression, where we continue to become better and better and better. It's just the 1% rule. I just want to be 1% better today. I'm not looking to hit home runs. I'm not looking to do all this crazy stuff. If I can just make one better decision today, tell myself one thing that I honor or appreciate or love or respect about myself each day, I slowly begin to build that version of me that can sit in the pit and not be affected. I said affected, but actually I'm going to change that to say it won't be infected. To be able to sit in the crap, the dis-ease, and to say, you know what, because I keep doing the work each day, I'm actually immune. I can't get infected anymore. So being able to go back to those dark places and to start to change the narrative. One of the things that we do here in the centers is called the life story. So when I created our app years and years ago, the life story, I think it's like somewhere between day 3 and 5. And what's cool is every single time I complete our 90 lessons on our app, I start over and then I do it again. And I start over and then I do it again. And what's amazing is as I continue to grow and expand and evolve through these different seasons, and I just recently did the oh man, my mind just blanked. What is that? Isn't that crazy? The brain's like, no, we already visited. I'm gonna pull it out. You're feeling good today? Nope. Boop. But basically what it is it's like a family history. It's your chronological order. And pulling my notes from I don't know how many years ago I did my first one. It's amazing this victim narrative. It's like one author came in and wrote it all. You're like, oh, I can tell who that author is. Victim, 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 victim. And through each iteration, now I'm going through, and it's crazy. It's like a complete different author writing the same story, but from a different viewpoint. It's like I think Marvel does a lot of this stuff. They'll go from this viewpoint and they'll change to this viewpoint, and it's very similar movies. They're getting very creative, but we can do the same thing with our own narrative. And actually looking at, and I remember one of the biggest things was, my dad was never there. He suffered from a bunch of mental health disorders, just all sorts of stuff, and just sitting in his pocket and actually opening conversations over all these years and speaking with him. And what's interesting is he remembers it he goes, yeah, I think it was 6 or 7 times over a few years where I either missed the pickup or something happened. And what's funny is my memory is skewed of it was every time except a few times. His memory, it might be skewed, it might not, was I was always there, but actually only a few times. And then I got to create my own updated narrative, which was totally supported. And the few times that either was forgotten or something happened, how I got to become this resilient little kid and got to figure out how to solve these problems that I'm actually using and learning. I'm so much stronger than I ever thought. So you get to rewrite these narratives. And so I want to leave you with this. What would happen if you became the person that you wish you had in your darkest times? So no matter what happens in life in the future, that you're able to support yourself and to work with yourself through knowing exactly what it is you need because you've experienced the dark, you've done the work, and you now carry the light. If you would like a free copy of our Recovery Habits Blueprint system, just shoot us a DM and we'll send it right to you.